Thanks for joining us on this edition of National Focus. I am Lourianne Graham Carter. Coming up, Prime Minister warns against misuse of resources. Phillipa Christopher honored this Heritage Day in Mahaut, and Honorable Senator Francine supports changes in Sexual Offences Act. Stay with us for the details of these and other stories after this.
Yell and tell. If someone tries to abuse you, tell until someone believes you and they do something about it.
For more information on child abuse or to report suspected cases on child abuse, contact the Social Welfare Division on 33 Great Marlborough Street or call 266-3020 or 266-3080.
Thank you for staying with us. The Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit, has charged police officers who are in possession of government vehicles to guard against improper use of government's resources. The Honorable Prime Minister was speaking on Friday at a handing over ceremony of 8 vehicles, costing the government of Dominica just under $1 million. He charged the officers to be accountable for the vehicles in their possession.
If any of you has an accident, you must call yourself out to take a report on what transpired, but simply not bring it in the so-called graveyard. And then when the chief believes that he has a vehicle assigned to a police station, there is none. Or department, there is none. At the end of the day, we all must recognize that while you may not have the ultimate responsibility to fetch the resources, but if we do not use it properly, we are denying ourselves and our country, and indeed our children, from a better way of life.
Dr. Skerrit affirmed that government intends to ensure that the police are not left without the resources to carry out their duties.
That as the Prime Minister of this country, I remain firmly committed to ensuring that our country is safe from all forms of threats, and that the requisite resources are made available to police to carry out its legal mandate, that is to keep our country safe.
The Honorable Prime Minister also spoke to the officers about proper maintenance and the possible repercussions if they are not accountable for the vehicles while in their care.
You may very well have to force me to put tracking devices on every vehicle that you have. Now, there is indeed a proposal before me that I have not given much consideration to. But if I will decide how well you use it before appending my signature to these proposals.
The departments to benefit from the vehicles are Mahaut, the Task Force, and the Special Services Unit. 11 more vehicles are expected based on a protocol signed between the Ministry of National Security of Dominica and the Ministry of Defense of China. Funds for the vehicles were provided by the Citizenship by Investment Program. Heritage Day 2016 was held in the community of Mahaut on Sunday. The day began with an ecumenical service at the Teaser grounds and was officiated by Bishop of Roseau, His Lordship Gabriel Malzer. The service was followed by an exhibition which featured aspects of the history and culture of the community. A cultural gala brought the curtains down on the event. Honorable Parliamentary Representative for the Mahaut constituency, Raymond Blackmore, expressed delight at the hard work the team put into organizing such a great event.
I must say that I'm delighted to be here today on such a very historic and wonderful experience. Certainly, my dear friends, events as this one bring out the brightest and most wonderful version in us as a community and as a nation. I want again in a particular way to commend the effort of those of you who took time off your busy schedule to be part of the planning and organizing process to make this event such a wonderful one it has been thus far.
The Honorable Minister for Culture, Justina Charles, also addressed the ceremony.
It is important that we understand our past so that we can develop a greater appreciation for the strides that we have made and use this as a benchmark to direct our path. Let us share those experiences with the younger generation.
Among the highlights of this year's celebration was the sashing of the cultural elder, Phillipa Christopher. She was presented with a plaque by His Excellency the President of Dominica, Charles Sarver. Christopher contributed to her community by participating in a Mahaut warp duet competition, making headpieces and applying starch to petticoats used for the national wear, and organizing kudme within the community and neighboring villages. She is 94 years old. Special appearances were made by this year's National Warp Duet pageant contestants. In other news, the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Francine, on Friday voiced her support to amend the Sexual Offences Act of Dominica of 1998. The bill introduces a number of new provisions and seeks to amend several existing ones in the Act. The bill will also address marital rape, in which the Honorable Minister says she believes that for the safety and well-being of the nation's women, there must be rules enacted.
We cannot have an artificial restriction and say, okay, it's wrong, but because you're married, there's nothing that can be done about it. There are women in our society who are being abused day in and day out. Some of these men have relationships outside. They may contract sexual transmitted diseases, and they may force their wife, even if their wife may know about it and they may want to protect themselves from these diseases. If there is nothing to restrict a husband from imposing himself in that way on the wife, then that person is left with no recourse.
She also noted that child safety also plays a role in cases such as these.
If you have people within an abusive relationship, that affects not only them, but it affects their relationship with their children. If you are being abused on a continuous basis, how do you relate to your children? Are your children seeing those things happening within the home? These are factors that we have to take into account when we consider the question of whether these qualifications should remain or should not remain.
In response to the opposition's concerns that the new amendment could be abused, the Honorable Minister had this to say.
Because such a possibility could exist. And I'm sure in many instances, this is not a decision that a woman will take lightly or a man will take lightly. And there is a threshold that needs to be established. But essentially, one needs to provide that protection for either a man or woman who is abused to be able to have recourse to the law, notwithstanding whether or not they are in a relationship. And if we agree that it's okay for a man to be found guilty or a woman to be found guilty of the offense of rape if there's a decree of divorce or if there's an order of the court, then we should also accept that notwithstanding those things, the offense is still committed. So it does not provide an excuse. It should not provide an excuse because it's a violation of your very being. And whereas you may find it difficult to comprehend because it's not something that you would do, but you may have daughters, you may have sisters, and would you be comfortable to know that your sister or your daughter or your mother is in a relationship where violence is being perpetrated, where that person is being raped continuously and there is no recourse because they are still married? So those, I think, are the factors that we have to have regard to when we look at a bill such as this.
In other news, Honorable Minister for Health, Dr. Kenneth Daru, is grateful for the assistance of the Republic of Cuba to Dominica's health sector despite the country's own challenges. He was speaking on Friday when Dominica and the Republic of Cuba signed a contract for the renewal of the cooperation agreement between the Ministry of Public Health of the Republic of China and Dominica's Ministry of Health and Environment. During his address, Honorable Dr. Daru mentioned the number of medical personnel in Dominica who have been trained in Cuba.
In spite of the fact that Cuba has been grappling with their own challenges, not to mention the Cuban embargo, and I can also recall what they call a period especial in the 90s where Cuba was going through extremely difficult economic hardships, and yet still they continue to help us in spite of their own challenges. And this is remarkable, people. This needs to be underscored. Among the Cuban medical team we have here on island, working in the healthcare services, we will have radiologists, pediatrician, internal medicine specialists, pathologists, gastroenterologists, 2 specialists in intensive care, 1 surgeon, 4 lab technicians, 2 biomedical engineers, 8 Cuban nurses, 5 of whom are specialized nurses in intensive care, and 1 X-ray technician. In addition, 90% of our district medical officers currently employed in the 7 health districts around the island are Cuban trained. Of course, as said by both myself, both the ambassador and the CMO, myself, I'm a proud Cuban trained medical doctor.
He also highlighted specialized training as well as the establishment of an intensive care unit, all provided by the government of Cuba.
In addition to this ongoing medical technical assistance under 2 separate arrangements, and again the ambassador alluded to them, we have trained and continue to train a number of our officers in various specialties. And I speak to arrangement under the Cuba CARICOM arrangement and also bilateral arrangements with Dominica, where several of our medical officers have pursued and are pursuing and will continue to pursue areas of specialized training in various disciplines to include surgery, internal medicine, nephrology, intensive care medicine, emergency medicine, geriatrics, among others. Now, the training of these sons and daughters of the soil form part of a strategic plan to fill the growing demands and needs of our population, and of course to equip the upcoming new national hospital with the requisite resources, human and otherwise, to meet this growing demand and this growing needs. Another highlight of this partnership with Cuba will be the establishment of a 4-bed intensive care unit at the PMH, established in 2006, with technical assistance from the Republic of Cuba. Now, this contribution by the government of the Republic of Cuba would have resulted in not only saving the lives, I'm sure, of dozens or more of critically ill patients, it would have also saved the government of Dominica and indeed many families from spending maybe thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in receiving critical care services overseas. Of course, depending on the nature and severity of the illness, some of them would still have to be referred overseas, but we can appreciate that the numbers would be much higher without the addition of this intensive care unit or services to the PMH.
You are watching National Focus. More when we return.
Let's have some fun, eh?
I'm not ready for your kind of fun yet.
But everybody else is doing it.
But I'm not everybody else. I'm me, and I want to do well in school.
Well, you definitely get an A for attitude.
I plan to get an A in life, and then I'll think of your kind of fun.
So what am I to do in the meantime?
You'll survive.
Say no when you're not ready. Use condoms when you are.
Welcome back. Farmers and vendors were awarded for their hard work and fresh produce being displayed at this year's Market Day with a Difference. On Saturday, participants from the town of Portsmouth and the community of Mahaut decorated their stalls and dressed in Creole wear to mark the event. Market Day with a Difference is held every year as part of the Independence activities. It is a day to recognize the hard work of those engaged in food production in Dominica. At the Portsmouth Market, the Honorable Minister for Information, Science, Telecommunication and Technology, Kenneth Daru, represented Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Honorable Darrow stated that government will continue to ensure that all farm access roads are rehabilitated. He believes this will help farmers to better access their farms.
If there is no access to the farms, how can the farmers get the produce so that the vendors can be here to selling the produce? And that is important. So we will continue to invest heavily in ensuring that we rehabilitate fully every single farm access road across this country to ensure that the farmers can have proper access to their farms. And at the end of the day, they are able to bring the produce from their farms to the markets here so that we can be able to purchase the produce,
The Honourable Member of Parliament for the Portsmouth constituency, Ian Douglas, stated that everyone has a responsibility to nation building. He called on his constituents to play their part.
Even we here at the Portsmouth market, what we do on a daily basis, you as the vendors, and even if we start from the producers, which are the farmers, and to a lesser extent the fishermen, you yourself have a responsibility and a contribution to make towards nation building, because the nation depends on you for sustenance.
The Honourable Minister for Agriculture, Johnson Drygo, reaffirmed the government's commitment to agriculture and the needs of farmers.
The government will do everything in its powers to assist you. And I'm so excited about one of the commitments we made in this year's budget of $500,000 to assist the boat owners, because Portsmouth is one of the major ports exporting our produce. And this commitment of $500,000, and I've seen the list of a number of boat owners who are working with the Ministry of Trade to access these funds so that they could do the adjustment to their boats to enter the EU rep markets and the USDA rep markets in the region, so we can get more of our products out of Dominica into these markets.
Meanwhile, local produce and crafts were on display at the Mahaut Fisheries Complex. Honourable Minister for Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development, Rosalind Paul, spoke on behalf of the Honourable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Honourable Paul noted that the Mahaut constituency is not being left out and millions will be invested on the Kyenbok-Melvin Hall Farm Access Road.
The contract has been signed and millions of dollars will be invested shortly in ensuring that this farm access road is improved, is rehabilitated. It is not an if thing, the contract has already been signed, and to benefit the Mahaut farmers. So when there are articulations that nothing is being done for Mahaut, we need to say, call a spade, and say when it's wrong, and say when it's right, and say when it is happening.
Awards were presented for Best Dressed Buyer, Best Dressed Farmer and Vendor, Most Impressive Vendor, Best Presented Decorated Stall, Biggest Fruit, Most Impressive Butcher, among others. In other news, the Honourable Minister for Tourism, Senator Robert Tong, guarantees a packed 2016 cruise season. Senator Tong at Parliament on Thursday revealed that Dominica should expect improved tourist arrivals this cruise season.
In 2015, the cruise numbers was 276,000 persons. For 2016, we expect 303,000 individuals. That's an increase of 27,000. These are booked cruise lines at the Dominica Port Authority.
He gave a breakdown of the impact of the tourism sector on the island's economy.
63% of persons who come from who arrive on cruise ships come to shore and they buy shore excursions. The average person pays $62 US for a shore excursion. Therefore, if you do the maths, 27,000 times 63% gives you 17,000 individuals, times 62 US per person gives you 1,054 in terms of money being spent. In Dominica, we know we have to multiply that by 2.7169, so that is an additional, the 27,000 people who come on shore, the 27,000 people who come to Dominica and 17,000 persons who come on shore who buy excursions. It means that over $2.8 additional million is going to be spent in Dominica to all the various stakeholders.
That's news. Your tip of the day is next.
There is a silent, invisible killer in our midst, a killer which largely goes unnoticed as it plies its deadly trade. Its name is secondhand tobacco smoke, which has a far greater impact on persons inhaling this poison than on smokers themselves. Secondhand tobacco smoke is especially detrimental in public places and negatively impacts our national health as well as public health expenditure. Stop this invisible killer now. Say no to secondhand tobacco smoke in public places. A public health message brought to you by the Ministry of Health and the Pan American Health Organization.
Here's why you should value your heritage. Culture can give people a connection to certain social values, beliefs, religions, and customs. It allows them to identify with others of similar mindset and backgrounds. Cultural heritage can provide an automatic sense of unity and belonging within a group and allows us a better understanding of previous generations and the history of where we come from. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica, and follow our Twitter at GIS Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. Live streaming is also available on our YouTube channel 24 hours a day. From all of us here on the GIS News production team, I am Lourianne Graham Carter. Thanks for watching and join us again next time on National Focus.